Well, thanks everybody for joining. Joe Holbrook here. I'm based out of Jacksonville, Florida, and basically I'm the CLO of a company called TechCommanders. And basically, I've been teaching blockchain, teaching cloud mainly the last cloud for the last 10 plus years, blockchain for about 4 or 5. I'm also a published author as well in architectures of blockchain. So I'm more of the Hyperledger focus. I'm more of the Corda focus, Ethereum focus, more or less, around enterprise deployments. And that's sort of what I was working on for quite a while as well. So pretty cool, lot going on in the industry. But today, we'll be focusing on what blockchain is. And I'm going to let Teresa in. Okay. And we'll go ahead and get into basically what Bitcoin is, why it's different from blockchain, gain an understanding of why blockchain is revolutionary. I will be talking about cryptos, NFTs, and the metaverse as well, just very briefly. I will have additional meetups on the metaverse as well. And that'll be probably in May or June. I haven't figured out when I would make the time for that. I've been working on some certifications with a company called 101 Blockchains, and they'll be released, I believe, next month. So sort of cool. Now, as far as the course itself, I'm not here providing investment advice. I'm not going to recommend that you go buy, Polkadot or Mana or something. I'm not here for that. The course itself is just meant to provide educational purposes and to give you insight into basically what blockchain is, what Bitcoin is, what an NFT is, what the metaverse is all about. I will be going through some demos here as well. I do have a hard stop at 11 today due to some other meetings. So if there's any questions, if I can't answer them by the time we close today, just feel free to connect on LinkedIn as well. So with that said, basically, this is a course overview, and we'll get through pretty much most of the course. Like I said, I'm going to probably spend a fair amount of time. At the last meetup, I probably spent about half the time on demos, just walking through NFTs and how to set up Bitcoin wallets and stuff. So let's go ahead and do a quick introduction. Let me see. We have about 9 people, so that's good. That's about our 10% mark that we get on Meetup, as I would expect. Okay, so great. So basically, CLO of TechCommanders. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. I've been working in blockchain, of course, for a while. Published author. I'm also certified in cloud. One of my specializations was, oddly enough, deploying Hyperledger on AWS. And I have a book on it for that matter as well. So it is right up here, if you can see that. And again, just in case. So that was published 2 years ago by Wiley. Now, again, I've been in tech for 25 years. I'm also a former veteran as well. And you'll likely, some of you may have ran into some of my courses on O'Reilly or Udemy or my own platform, or LinkedIn Learning as well. So numerous sites. So with that said, let's do a quick introduction. Looks like Lee, how are you today?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. If you want to just let everybody know where you're from, what you want to learn today, and gives us an idea of what we can address.
Yeah, I'm from Florida, Jacksonville.
Great.
I'm an electrical engineer. I've always just kind of been interested. I know it's been pretty popular and it got a lot of, I've always kind of been interested in it. I just never had, time to really get into it and learn about it. So I just wanted to, get some basics, at least learn what it is, how to set, something up and kind of go from there.
Excellent. Thank you. David, how are you?
Real good, real good. Thanks for letting me join this morning. I am located in Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas, and saw the event on Meetup and wanted to join and just network and learn more about blockchain. And I'm always looking forward to learning something new.
Great. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Teresa, how are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. Hope everyone is doing well. I have read about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and I just want to know more and more about it because I do believe it's here. It's not going away, and I need to be on top of it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Terry, how are you?
Doing great. Real estate agent, St. Augustine, Florida area. Just trying to come up to speed on all that's going on.
Excellent. Thanks for joining. And let's see, who is next? Jerry, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. And I'm from Florida, and I'm really just wanting to learn more information about the subject.
Perfect. Thanks for joining. And Kwesi, how are you? Is that correct pronunciation?
You got it. Thank you. Thank you for your service too and letting me in on the fly. I'm a recent boot camp graduate in Tampa, Florida. Interested in being a blockchain engineer. This isn't my first meetup with you. You run a good program, and I've been trying to, get more involved, as well as if you have any in-person sort of events. I knew that you were trying to plan some, so that's why I'm glad that you let me back in and that I'm attending today. Get more information on that.
Yeah, thanks for joining. And yeah, as far as in-person events, we've tried a few. Maybe it was just too early in the year. Attendance was like 2, so it's hard to justify a lot of effort for that. So yeah, we'll see what we may do. I was thinking of maybe having an event in maybe Orlando where there would probably be more traffic. But yeah, if that does change, I definitely would prefer in person, no question about it. So always more fun to meet people. Thanks for bringing that up as well. Let's see, Mike, how are you? Okay. All right, Mike, not sure I can hear you. Maybe he doesn't have a microphone. Okay. Okay. Mike, can you hear us?
Hey, Joseph, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Thanks.
Yeah, really appreciate the time to teach us different sort of aspects of the blockchain technology. I'd love to learn a little bit more about use case scenarios. So that way then I'm kind of, ahead of the curve with some of my peers out there. They've kind of started up early, but I just want to catch up.
Okay, great. We'll see what we can do with time on that. But I will be talking briefly about that. So yeah, great. Thanks for clarifying that. And let's see, anyone else that I miss? Ray, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks a lot.
Great.
Thanks for hosting.
Oh, thank you. Where you're from and anything you want to sort of learn today?
I'm from the Phoenix, Arizona area, and looking to learn a little bit about identities with respect to blockchain.
Okay. We'll definitely see what we can do to address that today.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So let's go ahead and get started. I just want to double check I did turn on the record, and yes, I did. Okay, so let me go ahead and continue on. For those that just joined, we do have a hard stop at 11 today, so just be aware of that. I'll do everything I can to answer as many questions as possible. I will be walking through quite a bit of demos, and I don't usually finish the presentation per se in the meetup. Usually this slide deck right here, which is like 40-something pages, will take about 4 hours for me to go through because I go through quite a bit of demos. So I've broken this down basically into basically an hour and a half, which seems to be about the sweet spot for a lot of people. So again, there's my book there available on Amazon. Okay, so let's talk about what this blockchain is and what crypto is. There's still, I think, a lot of confusion out in the marketplace about this. And it just seems, too, that a lot of the time, too, people do confuse, for example, what a blockchain is and what a cryptocurrency is. Because in reality, they're sort of they're similar in some respects, but they're really different because we want to look at, for example, a blockchain really being a distributed ledger, and that's what it really is. And a cryptocurrency is going to be typically hosted on a blockchain. So we want to think about, for example, a blockchain being the enabler for an application such as a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. Or if we're talking about Ethereum, we could have a token platform, of course, like Ethereum, hosting any number of different applications that are really considered distributed or decentralized based applications. Now, a blockchain is really, again, it's a secure, shared, distributed ledger. It provides immutable transactions, meaning that when it's written to the blockchain, it can't be deleted or modified. And the value with the blockchain is that it is immutable. In other words, if we're hosted on a SQL database and let's say Twitter is controlling it, do you think those comments are going to be immutable or not? Probably not, right? They're going to, it's their platform. They're going to control what's acceptable and what isn't. Whereas a blockchain, for example, if we make a transaction or host a video, let's say on BitChute, for example, then that video is immutable. At least it should be according to the true definition of a blockchain. Now, I will say there's a lot of what I would call platforms out there that call themselves blockchains, but in reality, they're distributed ledgers, and they're technically different. But we'll go into that in a minute when I go over to a whiteboard. I'm going to walk you through a few things on a whiteboard. Okay, so as far as the technology, it is transformational. And I think, too, one of the most important things about a blockchain is that it is disruptive to the status quo. So, for example, one of the big, I think, benefits to cryptocurrencies and blockchains as part of that is that it has made the financial sector aware that maybe we need to start paying attention. Maybe we need to start doing things better. And I think we're definitely seeing that. For those that are in Florida, just if this is of interest to you, just want to know there is a fintech conference coming to Orlando in May. I'd have to pull up the date, but it is in May. It's in Orlando. It's actually really affordable. It's like for 3 days, I think, or there's 2 days at least, or 3 days. It's like $600. So you'll get all kinds of insight into DeFi, decentralized finance, blockchain, and then also other fintech, like fractionalization and all that. So just be aware. that I think is on Eventbrite, so just be aware of that. I could post the link for that as well before we go. Okay, so just be aware too that I think what we're seeing right now, and I think a lot of the interest that we've been seeing in blockchain and Bitcoin generally does come from the media. And I don't know sometimes that the media does a really good job at sort of defining what a blockchain is or giving examples. There's certainly some great ones out there, but I think too, we want to think of like, and the example I like to use is just simply like if you think about like having a train track. So we have a train track. So that's the platform. And then we have a train that rides on top of that. So the blockchain is really the platform, whereas the cryptocurrency or the other distributed application is what's riding on that platform. And again, just think about it from that perspective when we compare the two. Okay, so what really makes a blockchain? Well, a blockchain is really nothing more than a linking of blocks. Okay, so Joe, what does that really mean? Well, basically, when we have a ledger platform, or in this case, a blockchain platform, let's say, like in the world of Ethereum, a blockchain, they use what's called proof of work mining. And because of that, we have miners that are doing all kinds of amazing work, killing the birds and killing the trees and all that stuff you hear, right? But anyways, I just sort of laugh when I read a lot of these World Economic Forum articles. But in reality, sure, proof of work does use a lot more energy than proof of stake, but it's not to the extreme that a lot of these media outlets are trying to portray it. So proof of work has its use case, no question about it. And it's very secure because you have the 51% rule. Now, is it possible, for example, that Bitcoin could be hacked? Sure, it could, but it would take a heck of an effort for that to happen. Now, when we talk about a block, and I'm going to go to a whiteboard on this because it's just easier to show you than talk about it, at least for me. And I'm a picture guy, so I like to see a workflow. So we'll go to a whiteboard here in a second. Now, when it comes to a blockchain, here's some other terminology that can define it as well. So a blockchain is a globally shared data structure. It has a transactional back end. That's the ledger, which is really where the transactions, or the blocks as they're known, are being written. And these blocks are linked. So let's say, for example, we have block 1, block 2, 3, 4, 5. Block number 6 will be linked directly to block number 5. And that's where the term blockchain comes in effectively. So when we have a transaction, basically, again, that transaction, when we use proof of work, has to be basically agreed to. There has to be consensus between the nodes. And consensus just basically says that the nodes agree that this is a valid transaction. Okay, so blockchain is basically technology that has been around for quite a while. It's sort of like the metaverse. I just laugh when I hear Mark Zuckerberg pretend they invented the metaverse, when in reality, it's been around for at least 5 years anyways, but that's another discussion. So what I'm getting at here is when you read articles like blockchain is like new technology, this is not new. I was doing a lot of this stuff when I was in the military. Encryption, for example, peer-to-peer networking, programming. This is all the same technology, just rebranded with a different use case. So what I like to tell people is don't make this more complex than it is, because it's really the same thing that we've been doing for decades in some cases. Encryption's been around forever. Peer-to-peer networking has been around at least 20 years. And coding a program is nothing but a code. It's just the way it's programmed. It's binary. In blockchain, it's actually a lot simpler in a lot of cases when you talk about smart contracts, because it's either a 0 or a 1 is sort of the way I look at it. It's binary. You're either this or you're that. You're not in between, right? So just be aware, right? Don't make it more complex than it is. Okay, so we have digital identity. So one of the important factors of blockchain is, and let me let this person in. Okay, and then when we consider digital identity, we have basically what's called basically keys. So these keys, for example, are basically going to be what allows us to access, for example, the blockchain resources to where we could, for example, connect our wallet, like if they were in MetaMask, for example, or, for example, other wallets like the Coinbase wallet or any other wallet you may have. And I will go through a few examples of wallets here in a few minutes. So how are we doing on time too? Okay, good. All right, now, as far as a few other areas, just briefly before I go to the whiteboard. So it is revolutionary. It's not new technology. It's a syncing, right? Don't make it more difficult than it is. Trust is at the center. So when I say trust is at the center, what this means is we trust the technology to do the right thing, right? We're not dependent on Bank of America to approve our wire transfer from, Tel Aviv to Jacksonville, Florida, right? And trust me, I'm dealing with that now. It's like crazy. Like I'm a terrorist trying to receive funds. It's crazy. What really makes it interesting for a lot of these government and financial institutions is that it is affecting the status quo. If you think about it, if you're able to transfer funds from one country to another without government regulators giving you permission, that's a big deal for a lot of people. So all this nonsense about, money laundering and stuff, sure, there's lots of people that do it, but most people don't, it's just crazy. So as you can tell, I'm not a big fan of the bank. So that's my number one reason for learning blockchain. All right, so when it comes to a couple other things about blockchain, it is a tamper-proof public ledger. Now, what makes blockchain interesting as well is you could see the wallet activity of basically every wallet on the blockchain. Now, it is pseudo-anonymous, meaning that you have the wallet address, but you don't know whose wallet it is. So you could see who's transferred, a Bitcoin from here to there, right? So that's there. So it is very disruptive to the status quo. So just a quick review for this section. Blockchain is complex technology, but it's a simple concept. Ledgers are shared basically around the world. They're distributed and decentralized. Now the blockchain is immutable. And again, remember, it is not new technology. It's just a syncing of old technologies for a new use case. Okay, so let's go ahead over before let me go ahead and share my screen and bring up the browser. And give me 1 second. Thought I logged in, but I didn't. Okay, so let's talk about blocks. And screen 3, okay. All right, so let's talk about, again, for me, I'm more of a picture person. I like pictures. I love workflows. And, nothing excites me more than a decision tree. So for me, that's how I learn. I know some people just love PowerPoints and love talking. For me, I'm visual. And again, no matter what way you are, hopefully this will make more sense, because one of the concepts that I have found to be the most challenging for people new to the blockchain is to understand what makes it different and how does it actually do its job. So when it comes to blockchain, just be aware too, let me get this out of the way here. This app, like Miro, is just really awesome, especially if you do a lot of architecture or teaching or something of that nature, because you can save it and just reuse it over and over. Okay, so let me get my pen. All right, so let's talk about how a blockchain is different and how it actually works. And then I'm going to go over to Ethereum, and I'm going to show you, or Bitcoin, you do either or, same thing. And you could see, for example, how you could follow activity of a wallet and actually track, for example, how a transaction is recorded. So that's the cool thing about a blockchain. Now, when we start a blockchain, we have what's called a genesis block. Now, the genesis block is block 0. So if I go over here to, let's say, Bitcoin Explorer, and for example, blockchain.com, there's also the BTC one. So there's a few out there, but this one here is fine. So if you go up here, put in your transaction or block 0 over here, you can see here that this is block 0. And can you see my screen? I just want to make sure I shared it. I did share it. Okay. So for example, if I go back over here to, this is block 0. So let's say this is Bitcoin. So this is the block 0 of the Bitcoin network. Now, you can see here, what's the date on this? 2009, January 3rd. So that was when the first transaction. Now, here's some Bitcoin trivia. Did you know that the first transaction of a Bitcoin actually occurred here in Jacksonville, Florida? Did anyone know that? Did anyone hear that story? That was the first one where someone was sent like so many Bitcoin to buy a pizza. And they bought that pizza at a Papa John's, I believe it was in Jacksonville Beach. So there is a news article on that. Just for those that don't know that, that's a little Bitcoin trivia. Pizza, the Bitcoin pizza. So on May 22nd, 2010, basically this guy paid 10,000 Bitcoin to get a pizza. Now, imagine if they saved that Bitcoin, what it would be worth today. So this is a story that you could look at. So there's a couple of them. So this happened basically in Jacksonville, Florida. And there's actually a sign outside of, and you can Google it if this is of interest, but there's a sign outside of the Papa John's saying that this is where the first Bitcoin purchase occurred. So sort of an interesting trivia a lot of people may not have heard of. Okay, so this is the genesis block. So this is where the blockchain was initiated. All right, so if I go back over here, I've now created the genesis block. So after this, I want to take a bunch of transactions. Now, what happens is, of course, I'm going to have a bunch of users over here, let's say, in the Bitcoin network. And these are nodes. So let's say in the Bitcoin network, there's thousands of nodes. So what happens is thousands of nodes around the world. Now, I know this sounds incredibly inefficient, but the way it works is all of these nodes will get a copy of the transaction. And we need to have a consensus of the nodes to basically agree that this transaction, let's say, for this pizza is valid, right? And so once that happens, a block is basically written on the blockchain. So block number 1. Now, when I say a block, let me just be clear. A block is actually going to be a group of transactions that are grouped together by the node. So it could be anywhere from a couple transactions to hundreds of transactions, depending on the size and how they're grouped together. So they're basically processed and then written to on the blockchain. So again, so now what happens, see this arrow? Block number 3 is linked to block number 2 is linked to block 1, and then block 1 is linked to what? Block 0. That's how they came up with the word blockchain. Does that make sense to everybody? Sort of pretty clear, right? Again, like I say, don't make it more difficult than it really is. So that's the process. Okay, so now what we could do over here to the Blockchain Explorer is scroll on down and, for example, look at the hash. And then when I go to the hash, this tells me more information about the size, the confirmations. There's basically at the time, this is the number of, so this here, when you get the confirmations, this is just basically agreeing that this is an acceptable transaction, input information, and all that fun stuff. Okay, now, when we talk about cryptocurrency, for example, I could use any number of wallets. Like I could use MetaMask, for example. I could use, for example, the Ronin wallet, for example. And again, I have a little bit of Ethereum in there, and then I have my Axes in there. So for example, if you're familiar with Axie Infinity, I've got a few NFTs and all that in there as well. So basically, those are recorded as well to the blockchain. Now, also, too, you can use Coinbase, any number of different wallets out there based on what you're trying to do. So with that said, that's, effectively how basically the Bitcoin network got started. Then over here, this is basically the hash. Then if I click over here, this gives me the address of basically, and it tells me that this wallet transacted 3,300 plus times just on, and here's the list of transactions for that wallet, for example, that was used for the first transaction on the Bitcoin network. So pretty cool. And you can see basically the amount of Bitcoins, 3 Bitcoins, gives you the fee that was paid, the hash ID, the date of the occurrence. And this is actually recent, this one here. Is less than, less than a Bitcoin, right? So you can see there the fees that were paid. So pretty cool. So you can dig into this any number of ways. So that's an example of what's called a blockchain explorer, in this case for the Bitcoin network. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation, and then I believe after this we'll be talking about NFTs and the metaverse. So I'm not sure if that's the order, I forgot, but we will get to both of those. Okay, so let me bring up my PowerPoint here. I think that's the one. Yes. Okay, I've got 3 monitors. Sometimes I lose myself. Okay, all right. So what is a cryptocurrency? So basically think of cryptocurrency as a way to make a digital payment. Now, the first cryptocurrency that really came about was not Bitcoin per se. It was something called eCash. And that actually was ahead of its time, oddly enough. It was back, I think it was in 2005, or no, 1995. I think it was 95 or 2005, I forgot. No, it would have been 95. It was right when the web was taken off, and this is like a beta test that was put out, but it's called eCash. There's an article on it, sort of interesting, but Bitcoin was really the first one in 2009 that really took off and became accepted. So as far as like a blockchain is concerned. So eCash was not actually on a blockchain. It was basically used encryption though. It was, of course, ahead of its time though in reality. All right, now when it comes to cryptocurrency, it is basically a way to make a payment digitally. Now, these digital currencies could be, and right, we all probably have heard of Bitcoin, of course, but what about Litecoin or Dash or Monero? There's thousands of different alternate blockchains and basically tokens out there that are available. So these are all digital currencies in one form or another. So basically, Bitcoin is, of course, the most widely used and also has the largest market cap. Now, Litecoin at one time, I would have said 4 years ago, was probably my favorite. Charlie Lee was really a spinoff of Bitcoin, and but unfortunately, too, a lot of these altcoins, they just don't have the what I would call the acceptance or the let me let these people in. I didn't realize I turned on a waiting room by accident, but okay, I'll learn next time. Okay, so as far as Litecoin is concerned, again, it was a fork of the Bitcoin network. Now, a fork, when I say a fork, what I mean is this. A fork is basically, it's similar to, like, a simple term would be like a country with states that are seceding from each other. In the world of blockchain, it's really basically miners that are saying, you know what, we don't want to be forced to upgrade to another GPU 3 months later. And they say, you know, we're going to go form our own blockchain network. That's what Litecoin was, for example. Bitcoin Cash, right? Ethereum Classic. They're all forms of basically a fork on the blockchain. And again, there's any number of different tokens. I always laugh at the Shiba Inu, right? I just how a meme could just make things crazy, right? Dogecoin is another example, right? So unbelievable. Okay, so anyways, what I'm getting at is a lot of these tokens and cryptocurrencies really have Zippo value, and you know, I'm not here to speculate, but I think anybody can realize that there's probably going to be a time where things sort of filter down. But until then, we have thousands and thousands of these different coins. So Bitcoin was created 2009, effectively was 2008, but it really went public in 2009. Okay, and then coin market cap. So one of the best resources out there for anyone looking to get started in cryptocurrency to invest is actually going to be coin market cap. Now, I'm not here to provide advice. I'm just sort of making sort of like a preemptive move for questions that I typically might get. Okay, so an ICO. So for those that are interested in starting your own token or your own cryptocurrency, the way you would raise money is through a ICO. That's called an initial coin offering. Now, this is basically an event similar to an IPO, but with a lot less regulation, of course, and formalities. But basically, you would post your own little website, and you would get on Discord and, you know, go through a fundraising process. So when we compare the differences, digital currencies are secured using cryptocurrencies, and you know, they act as sort of like a currency in some respects. Now, when I say currency, we're not saying like the official currency like the dollar or the euro, right? We're just saying a form of payment effectively. Again, here's some differences for you to review. Now, from a layer perspective, for our technical gurus out there that want to know, well, how does this sort of work, you know, at a high level? Well, first we have a Bitcoin, for example, protocol, let's say. So we have the protocol, we have the token, which is Bitcoin, and that's all riding on a blockchain. Now, like Ethereum is very similar as well. So we have the Ethereum network, which is a blockchain, the protocols using the Ethereum, these protocols, And the token with Ethereum is Ether, for example. And then you would have, for example, your applications that you would run on top of that as well with Ethereum. All right, so what are non-fungible tokens? All right, so how many here have heard of a non-fungible token and actually know what it is? Anybody? Other than I know Quessy does. Anybody? Okay, no worries. So an NFT is considered a digital asset. So this digital asset is something that you can purchase or create or trade on the blockchain. For example, if I go over to, I'm going to go over to OpenSea here in a minute and talk about it. Let me hold off on going too far off the slide, and then I'm going to go over to the demo and walk you through a few things. So when it comes to non-fungible tokens, this is basically a way that you could create basically what is really a graphic or a video or music and have it basically kept on the blockchain. And then you could try to sell it for insane amounts of money if you're famous. But I have my own thoughts on NFTs, and I'll leave it for other discussions. So I'm very familiar with NFTs. I have a collection that I put out as well for the fun of it, actually, and for when I teach courses on NFTs. And one of the things I have noticed is that there's certain blockchain wallets that seem to do all the buying and selling in the same collections over and over and over. So that makes me worry. So when it comes to NFTs, I think the use case is sort of cool, but don't think of it as investments. It's just sort of the way I would sort of just state it, but I'll leave it at that. Now, digital real estate. This is interesting as well. The metaverse. So the metaverse is interesting because you have people that are buying digital land, which are nothing but NFTs effectively. Or if you think of a web page, it's basically a pixel. So they're buying pixels effectively and paying literally up to, so the base price for like right now, and I'll go to Decentraland or the Sandbox and show you this in a minute. The base price to get started on an auction typically is going to be at least 3 Ethereum. So 3 Ethereum is what? $9,000 or so. I don't know what the price of Ethereum is today. I didn't check, but about 3,000 or so. So if you want to get started in the metaverse right now, you're looking at a $10,000 starting point. And that's going to be the bad part of town. So, not the part of town where you're next to Snoop Dogg, right? I was laughing because there's people, I was reading this the other day, someone paid $2 million for the property next to Snoop Dogg. Okay. Anyways, if you can make sense out of it, let me know. But what I'm getting at here is that NFTs are at a craze still, even though the interest has gone down quite a bit, according to Google Trends, for example. So think of NFTs as a way to buy a fancy avatar. Now, when it comes to these NFTs, there's ways to create them. I have a whole course that I spent 2 weeks putting together. I do everything by hand. Everything's done visually. On OpenSea, for example, I walk through how to do all that. It's really easy to get started as well. So anyways, how do these NFTs work? And I do have another whiteboard I'm going to go to with this here in a second. So it's like tokenizing graphics, let's say. and then you owning that graphic and having it written to the blockchain. That's about the complexity of it. Now, that's on the blockchain as ownership. There is copyright law that would come into play. This is still an evolving area as well. Now, some NFT marketplaces, OpenSea, Superware, Immutable X, on and on and on, right? And then we have our CryptoPunk number 7523. Anyways, some of these are very expensive, like the collections to get into. I'll show you that in a second here. So how do you create and sell an NFT? Well, basically you would create an Ether wallet in most cases. Most of the platforms are going to support Ethereum. Some support Polygon to some degree as well, and a few others. Solano as well. But anyways, you really can't go wrong with Ethereum. The problem with Ethereum now is that it's so expensive. And you have to play games with the timing, because, and anyone that knows Ethereum will tell you that the time of day can matter quite a bit for the fees you pay. So you have to really pay attention to that. But anyways, go to a marketplace, create an account. There is a KYC process you have to go through, and then you create and upload and sell. All right, so for example here, Fast Food Punks on Rarible. That's the wallet, for example. That's a cheap one. You could buy that one for 3/4 of an Ether. So what is that? About what? Less than $2,200 or so, right? So anyway, so if you want to own something like that, it's about $2,200, let's say. Okay, so let's go to NFTs before I jump into the metaverse. And I've got about 45 minutes, and I do want to leave time for questions. Okay, so let's go have some fun and go first to NFTs. And let me go and stop my share and bring up the other site. Okay. All right, so let's talk about NFTs. And I'm going to walk you through briefly the collection I started for the fun of it, and then how you could upload an NFT and sell it. Now, for those folks that do want to get into NFTs, you would need to be creative, for example. And let me share my screen before I forget. Screen number 3, yes. Okay. So for those that have creativity, like you're really good at graphics, you could put together your own NFT. And there's also tools out there as well, like NFT generators that you can buy. There's some for free, I believe. Honestly, I haven't tried them all, so I can't say how good they are. I just know that between my handwriting and my drawing, I went through hell in school. So anyways, so I'm not known for writing or drawing. I'm just not good at it. So I pay someone else to do it, like on Fiverr to do it. So you could do that really easy. It's very cheap to get the concept together, maybe $50. And then if you want like 100 NFTs, it might be, again, it depends on the graphics designer and what you're looking for. It could be anywhere from $500 to $3,000 or $4,000 or $10,000 if you want like a collection with, I think it's like a minimum of 1,000 NFTs. So, and it depends on the type of NFT, so that can vary. So the pricing can be all over the map to get started. And that's just to create the collection, for example. Okay, so I'm over here at OpenSea. So OpenSea is perhaps one of the most popular platforms out there for NFTs, if not. It's definitely the most widely used on Ethereum. Also, too, Immutable X is another one as well. Let me just give me 1 second here. Position myself. Okay. And then, okay, so OpenSea. And then I want to go to another site quickly to show you as well. It's called Mutable X. So and this is important because it'll show you how the process is different. So let's talk about OpenSea first, and then I'll go to Immutable X. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let's explore first. So when we create NFTs, or if we want to look for NFTs, generally NFTs are in what's called a collection. So this collection is really nothing more than typically the same graphic painted over with a different color hat or different glasses or different hair or maybe a different background. But you'll see when you go into these collections, let me go over to, where is the, this one here is a fun one, Pudgy Penguins. All right, so when I look at this, you can see there that they have about a little under 8,900 items. So that's the number of NFTs in the collection. So you can see how creative these are, right? You see how they have a penguin that has different colors, different hats, right? So this is an NFT collection. Now, let's talk about a couple facts that you may be asking. I really want to have my own Pudgy Pumpkin, right? I'm sure half of you right now are saying I'd like to have one. Well, for you to buy a Pudgy Pumpkin, a penguin, I should say, is going to cost you at least 3.74 Ethereum. So if you do the math, let's go Ether to dollar or USD. All right, so I guess I haven't been paying attention lately. It's 3,400 now. So multiply that. So 3.4 Ethereum is now $11,000 plus. And that's before all the fees. So you could be the proud owner of a Pudgy Penguin for about $11,000. So let me know when you get yours, okay? Again, I'm sort of making this humorous because it just shows you, and this is nothing. You should see some of the others. But anyway, so these are cute. And again, you just simply would go over here and you go buy now. So this is 4 Ethereum. And I could make an offer. And then I'd have to connect my wallet. And then once I do that, basically, I can make an offer if I have that Ethereum in there to make the offer, for example. So anyways, this gives you the price history of Pudgy Penguin 781. And you can see that it was basically minted on August 8th. So that's the date. Now, minting is when an NFT is actually created and listed for sale. So basically, it was 11 DAI. What? Oh, I was looking at, okay. So you can see here offers that were made. I was looking at offers. And then over here, go down here. This is actually the transactions here. Is that true? Somebody's having fun. 11 DAI for that. Okay, I don't think they're going to be accepting 11 DAI when they have offers for 3 Ethereum anyways. So anyways, that's sort of funny. Okay, so over here, you can see 8 months ago, it was minted. Now it was sold for 0.26 Ethereum. So basically, that's, less than what? $1,000, right? 800, 700, whatever it is now. I don't know what it was then, but anyways, so you can check that out. And then it was resold for 2.3, and now it's on sale for 2.6 or whatever. So anyways, so that's how that works. Okay, so now I can go over here to create and connect my wallet. Did I not? Give it a sec. One thing I did notice is that for some reason, my MetaMask wallet slows down. And that might be because I have the other wallets that are listed, and sometimes I wonder if there's interference. But All right, so I can go ahead and get, again, so for me to buy this, I would have to add Ethereum, for example, to be able to buy my Pudgy Penguin, right? So anyways, so that's connected. Okay, so now I'm logged in. Anyway, so little interference there. All right, so this is just a play collection I put together. So what I did is I took the characters of basically my daughter's book that she had written, one of them, and just put together sort of like these different NFTs. And basically, again, on Fiverr is pretty much nothing to do this. So it's really, the barrier to get started with NFTs is not very high, unless if you want something really fancy. So just be aware. So that's basically one thing to think of. And go back here. So like this other collection here is basically, again, it's called the Princess and Dragon Prince. And then I could go over here and add an item, for example. And again, this is more for play. I'm not really doing anything with it, just so that I could teach people how to do this. And then go add an item. Okay. And usually it's not this slow. Anyways, usually it's pretty quick. I don't know if it's me or maybe I just need a refresh. Usually adding an item is a 2-minute project. Something is, why there it is. Okay, so basically you have to sign the contract. So basically you sign a contract to list the item, and then I could just go over here and add, for example, another character, for example, and I'm just going to call this Now, when you do this, though, you're going to want to put together a lot of solid information and metadata, because you need to have the SEO really there. So, for example, you'll want to go to properties and add the metadata. For example, this is a princess, and then, you know, female, or you could add any number of different metadata. You could add more, like red crown or pink t-shirt. You know, you want to describe that the best you can. So you can do any number of things. And then over here, you select the blockchain. OpenSea supports Ethereum and Polygon at the time of writing. And then you just go over here to create. And that's new. I don't remember having to do that. They're adding all this CAPTCHA stuff, I guess. Okay. And basically, that's all you do. So you go ahead and, well, actually, I'm not done yet. So what you want to do is share this on social media. And then what you need to do is, what I did is I posted it on Marketplace, but now I have to actually sell it. So now I want to go ahead and price this, let's say, you know, $871 is a bargain, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and list this for fun. Now, the fees that you would pay when it's sold is listed here. So there's a creator fee and a service fee. So the service fee goes to the platform, OpenSea. And then the creator fee is to the creator. So that's like if you're an artist and you're selling artwork, what's nice is it's like a royalty payment. Every time that's sold, you get a fee that's given to you automatically through Ethereum smart contracts as sort of like a royalty payment. And then complete the listing. And you'll see it pops up MetaMask again. It is basically saying I need to agree to the terms. This is a smart contract. Now, what's nice about OpenSea is you don't have to know anything about smart contracts. You just have to just basically review the basic information. What this is just telling you is the fee that's being created, what the target address is, and other information that's recorded on the blockchain. So you sign this. Now, And that's all you do. So now your item is now listed for sale. So that's how easy it is to list an NFT on a platform like OpenSea. Okay, so now I could go over here to, for example, my collections. And over here, not that one. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. This one here. Yeah, if I go down here, like you could see some of these I bought from other creators, like this one here, BitFox number 662. It's owned by me, and I can go ahead and try to sell it. And again, no one's interested in these. So the floor on this collection was like, I think, $100 or something like that. So it wasn't particularly high. So again, you could keep on relisting these. So the way this works is you sell, and then you could enter a fixed price or an auction price. How are we doing on time? Okay. I'm going to go to the Metaverse here in a few minutes and go to questions. All right. So as far as a timed auction, so you could do basically a starting price, sell it to the highest bidder, and then put in a starting amount, for example, and then change the duration of days however you want. And then I can go ahead and try to sell that. And again, as you see, right, what happens? You have to sign the smart contract effectively, and that's how you get started becoming an NFT millionaire or broke, one or the other, right? So now Immutable X is another one as well. So when you go to Immutable X, it'll bring up the collections. Now you see the look and feel of this is very different, right? So we have the Christmas punks. So to get started with Christmas punks is a lot cheaper. So it's like 0.0124 with 2% in fees. So I could go over here and buy more crypto. Now, Immutable X uses MoonPay. That's a pretty good way. The reason you might want to use MoonPay versus like Coinbase and sending it to your wallet, the Ethereum fees are just so much higher. So for folks in the US, if you could use MoonPay, honestly, the credit card fees like 2%. Pay that because the Ethereum fees would be 4 to 6% sometimes. It's absolutely nuts. So just be aware. So this is actually sort of cool if you want to get around some of the Ethereum fees that they do have that capability. So for me, I have a few of these. I've got the Guild of the Guardians, for example, a few of these. Again, I try to resell those, but again, no one's interested in buying at literally the same price I paid. So sort of goes to show that maybe there isn't this demand that they say. So just be aware that there is a lot of activity in NFTs. Then another thing too, when it comes to like the metaverse, so NFTs in the metaverse. Okay, let me go back to the slide, talk about the metaverse, and then we'll wrap up the content and go to questions. So let me share this presentation. So again, you could use the same NFTs in a lot of cases that you buy on OpenSea and actually use them on some of the metaverse platforms to a degree. It's still pretty limited. There's still, I would say, a lot of interoperability that needs to be had. But again, the metaverse is really still in its infancy. So what is this metaverse? So I like to compare the metaverse to sort of really a virtual world where you can just escape your current world. I know that sounds sort of silly, but that's sort of what it is. So if you want to put on a headset and cover your ears and put on dongles or whatever, and not worry about who's at the door or your kid crying or whatever, then it's a great way to escape, right? Now, do people like to play games? So the number one reason to use a metaverse right now is for the games. There's just no way around it. Now, do I see a lot of opportunity for companies down the road to advertise, to market to the new users? Sure, I could see that. Sure, there's a lot of opportunity there. So just to clarify, the metaverse was actually not coined by Mark Zuckerberg. Contrary to what Facebook marketing would want you to believe, the metaverse is not new. Mark had nothing to do with it in reality, and changing the name to Meta is a great way to sort of avoid what's really going on. That's sort of my take on the tech sector. So when you hear Facebook created the metaverse, and I've read this 4 or 5 times, I just sort of like say, no, that's not how it worked. Because if you were playing, for example, virtual reality games before online, that was effectively the metaverse. Nothing new is coming out of Facebook in reality. The only direct connection Facebook has right now to the metaverse is the fact that they bought Oculus headsets, which is really sort of the on-ramp to the metaverse. So just be aware of that. Now, the first versions of the metaverse is really like Second Life, for example, if you've ever heard of that or played that. Also, too, Facebook does have its own little version of virtual reality world called basically Horizon Worlds. But anyway, so let's clarify what the vision of this is. So people will be able to enter the metaverse and interact with others. So effectively, you're going to be entering a virtual room, basically a virtual world with other people, basically, that are avatars. That's pretty much how you can sort of think of it. Now, can you attend meetings? Sure. Can you possibly, learn new things on the metaverse? Sure. That's already been started. So there's a lot of potential there. But again, Facebook has had really nothing to do with this. This has been going on before then. Now, one of the things that came up, and I'm just glancing at this. Yeah, so I will say, though, what I think people do credit Facebook for is changing their name to Meta and actually introducing the metaverse to a whole pool of millions of new sort of potential users. So that's really where Facebook plays in, is that they have their user base, right? But the technology and the idea, they had nothing to do with. It was created well before then. All right, so before I go to questions and go to the Metaverse sites, for those, again, that joined, there is a Dropbox link in the chat, and feel free to download the ebooks that are there in the presentations. There is additional resources as well. Some of the links are there. There is a new Metaverse book that I have put out that is available on Amazon, and I think I did leave a copy of that on the share as well for you. And then I do have additional programs on our site as well. But with that said, I just wanted to make sure we provided those resources to you. Okay, so let's go to the Metaverse. All right, is there any questions on anything before I go to the demo and questions? I didn't miss anything. Any questions? Good. Okay. All right, so let's go to the Metaverse. Let's get started. All right, so give me 1 second to position myself. All right, so I'm going to talk about Axie Infinity, and then I think Sandbox is what we have time for today. And let me share my screen. Okay, so you should be able to see that. All right, so for those that would like to buy property on Sandbox, or you would like to, for example, get your own metaverse NFTs or live near Snoop Dogg, you'll need to participate typically in an auction or place a bid for a property. So that's sort of the way this would work right now. Now, when it comes to Decentraland, there's another site as well. And you can see here. Now, for those that are old enough to remember back in 1999 or 2000 or so, there was this site called the $1 Million Home Page. This is the exact thing that that page did, but the metaverse created this sort of market for it. So basically, you go over here and select one of these lands and basically, see who owns it and if it's available for sale or to place a bid on. So for example, if I go over here, you could bid on this property. So, okay, so how do you know how much to bid? Well, this is the $1 million question. So when you go over here, you can place a bid and then basically hope that they'll take it. Now, I don't know. Now, again, I want to say that this process is still rudimentary, so there isn't a lot of efficiency. However, if you did want to go to, I think it was Decentraland, they do have auctions that you can go ahead and buy on OpenSea, for example. But if you go over here, I think that was it. Oh, you know what? Oh, no. Nope, my bad. It was actually OpenSea I should have put. Okay. But let's go over to OpenSea here and then put in so over here, you could see, for example, this is Decentraland. So these are not this one here is, let me just check. Okay. So this is a launch party. So this is still a little strange. I'm not seeing a lot of activity in a lot of these. So what you would do is you would make an offer and hope they take it. So this is like a launch party. Again, and then some of these, for example, Hopper Farm. So this is owned by Metaverse. So this isn't. So Metaverse is actually a company. Metaverse.io, I think it is. They are sort of the ones that are creating a lot of this and selling these properties and getting crowdfunding and all this and buying them up. That's sort of what they're doing. But anyway, so these are some of the ones listed. So this is just one way to get into buying metaverse properties or NFTs, or basically what I would call fixtures, like a lamppost or something like that. So that's just one way to get started. Now, if you go over here, so this is called the map. If I go back to home, this is where, again, you go to buy land, and this will bring you to OpenSea for basically the same thing with different properties that, and again, there isn't, at least I couldn't figure it out at the time, an easy way to correlate land with sort of how you would find it easily referenced. There is degrees here, but it still takes a little work to figure out. So, but I just want to point out, so for example, 2 Ethereum, that's the lowest price that you'll get that plot of land in the metaverse for on OpenSea. So just be aware. So if I go to 2, that's 2 Ethereum. That is about $7,000 right now. So that's a little bit cheaper than what I saw the other day. So that's actually good. The other day it was like almost like $9,000. So this went down for whatever reason. They must have lowered the prices. Okay, and then over here, so let's look at the property that is the highest. I don't know about you, but you figure out how much 3 nines of Ethereum is and let me know. This one here is 33,667 Ethereum, for example, right? This is what? Look at that. That's insane. I'm not like, that's 160 million, like for real? I mean, again, so I don't know who's going to pay for that, but I guess people are. I'll just above my head. So I just wanted to show you sort of how you could figure out what's really going on in the metaverse and on NFTs. There's certainly some interesting activity. But again, if you start looking, like if you dive into these wallets, chances are you start looking at, that's a null address, darn. So you can't really track, for example, there hasn't been activity. So until there's activity that's written to the blockchain, it's hard to tell, for example. So this is just dropped on OpenSea. And this one here, they're trying to get 58 million. Like, yeah, okay. So that was listed. Someone made an offer for 1 Ether, basically, is what it, 1 WETH, I should say. So that's about 1 Ether. So the WETH is a wrapper for Ethereum. It's just a way to avoid some of the fees on Ethereum network and just keep it on OpenSea, for example. So it's called wrapped Ethereum. All right, so there's also, too, the ability to play games. Oh, let me finish up. Did I go to the sandbox? Okay, so the sandbox as well is basically similar to play to earn, where you could play games and actually earn tokens. And then you claim rewards, and then those rewards would be an AXS, which would be Axie Infinity. Or no, actually, Sandbox is not, Axie Infinity is AXS. Sandbox is SAND or SAN, I think. And then Mana is for other platforms as well. So it's like all of these metaverse tokens as well. There's probably 300 of them. It's pretty hard to remember them all sometimes. Okay, so anyway, so AXS would be the token if you want to play this. So when you click Get Started with Axie, you need to have your Ronin wallet set up. I sort of used this like 3 weeks ago. It's sort of fun. And then once that's set up and logged in, you would then be able to get started. And the one thing I did notice is there. Okay, so I just want to double check that. All right, so I'm logged in. Okay, so now what you do is I have to go over to my desktop, and give me 1 second, because I'm using a laptop and not a mobile device. I need to use, and let me show you this while I'm bringing it up. It's called basically the Maven Hub, and that's what connects you to the metaverse and the game itself. So this will hang for a second. It shouldn't drop anything, but uses a ton of resources to get started. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And screen number 1. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up the Maven Hub. and that is going to ask me to, so if I remember what email I used. Oh yeah, this is the kludges thing. So you have to like see there, you have to like be careful. You have to get this like exactly right. Okay, good. All right. And now I can go over here and play my Metaverse game. Okay, so guys, this drives me crazy. Okay. What do they want me to do? Rotate this axis until it stands on its head. They want to make sure I'm not a bot. So, okay. Now, to play this game, though, you need to have basically 3 of these basically axes. These are called axes. They're characters. So you would have to pay for 3 of these to get started. Again, this is going to cost you $100 or so to get started at least. Now, on the other side though of this is that if you play this a lot, you'll make up that money quickly with tokens that you'll get back. Again, I don't play games. I just write this off as an expense because this is for business, right? But anyways, for you, if you want to play a game, you could go over here to the arena and you'll see this is going to bring up, this is my team called the Techie team. Now, being that I have a keyboard, I have to, now, one thing, before I forget and go to questions here, we've got like 7 minutes. The way this works is similar to Pokemon or Pokemon, I guess, where you have these cards and you flip them over and then you try to compete against each other. And I could end my turn. And then you'll see that they'll fight each other based on the cards that you submit. Now, there's a term I'd have to ask my stepson. He would, or my son-in-law, he would know this. No, my stepson, I should say. I always confuse that. He knows this much better than I do. But anyways, so the way you win this game is to, of course, get the most points and to get the best cards and position the cards in the right order. And then go over here and again, if you're a gamer, you would sort of get this. Now, I'm out of energy. So guess what happens? I have to either buy more energy or I pretty much will lose. So that's pretty much just a quick summation of how this would work. So I hope this provided some insight as well. All right, let's go to questions.